Welcome back to DVC Weekly. This is episode 125. My name is Jay Serpling. I'm the broker of Buy and Sell DVC. I'm here with Scott Ferrioli.
I'm the owner of DVC-Rental.com and BuyandSellDVC.com.
And today's June 28th, 2023. And your 11th month mark is going to be May 28th, 2024. And the 7th month mark is January 28th, 2024. As always, Buy and Sell DVC.com and DVC-Rental.com. Remember the dash to save the cash. Got all your information on both websites. If you're looking to rent, you can, it's like try before you buy.
Yeah.
If you're ready to buy, come to us. If you need to sell, we're happy to help you sell your property. Today, we're going to start on the buy and sell side of things. And there is a Dave Ramsey clip going around in regards to DVC. Now, Dave Ramsey, he himself, he has a huge following. He's been around forever. But the clip, he's talking about Disney Vacation. A caller calls in and says, and if I don't have this exact information correct, I apologize. But the caller calls in and says, like, his family member owns DVC. The family member is encouraging, I believe it's his son-in-law,
Yes,
to purchase DVC. And so he's asking if, he should go ahead and purchase DVC. Now, Dave Ramsey is taking the call with another. Now, I'm not 100% familiar with, how this program works, but Dave Ramsey is there with another person that's with his show. Now, the other person that's with his show, that person thinks that the call is actually kind of like a prank call because I guess
timeshare.
Right. Because I guess Dave Ramsey doesn't speak highly at all of any timeshare. So he's wondering why this caller would even bring this up, because it's just, so Dave says, well, Dave starts, I will tell you this, based on the phone call, I would say that Dave Ramsey does know about DVC at least a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, he definitely may not know 100%.
He doesn't know the ins and outs, but he knows that's a little bit different than other timeshares.
Right. And the one thing that he mentioned in regard to, because again, we'll say the guy that's working with Dave Ramsey says, well, why is Disney different? And he says, because they actually have resale value. If you need to get out of the property, you're able to sell it and again, I don't know exact words. I don't know if he said at a decent price or whatever, but you're able to get your money out of it.
Yeah, he mentions the other timeshares, they end up on eBay for $1. Whereas the Disney timeshares, you get a large portion of your money back. He doesn't know this stuff. He doesn't know that, if you bought it resale, and you may end up making money on the deal. But he points out that it does hold its value, and you can get money out of it if you need to sell it.
So, again, it wasn't like, he said, yeah, go buy DVC. It's the best thing ever. But in terms of Dave Ramsey rating, it was a very good for DVC. And I was waiting for him to say, if you're going to buy it, be sure to buy resale. That's what I was waiting for him to say, because
I was waiting for the name drop us, but he didn't do it.
Because the way
you're seeing this, Dave,
because he said, you can get your money out of it. So just if you buy resale and you ever need to sell it, you could, I was waiting for him to say that. And like you say, he did mention, there's so many timeshares that you can buy for $1. And he did mention, if you, he said you want to be buying it because you're going to go to Disney every year. And he did mention the comparison to, let's say you buy a vacation home. Yeah, if you buy a vacation home with the intent of, using that home, well, now he mentions you've now limited yourself to going to that vacation spot for the foreseeable future, as long as you own that property. That's one of the negatives of owning a vacation home, because then you're not exploring all these other places. Because as you mentioned, Scott mentioned, 2 episodes ago, life is short. Get out there, start exploring. Book this resort. So he did mention if you're going to go with DVC, it's because you want to use it, at the different DVC resorts. Yeah. So I just wanted to touch on that. I thought, for a clip, if you watch the clip, you may say, well,
he definitely did not like timeshares.
Right. He definitely does not.
Dave Ramsey's always very good at trying to tell you how to save money. He doesn't teach you how to make money, though. And like, he sat there and said, if you want to go somewhere every single year, you buy a house, but then when you don't want to go there, so it's like silly to buy a vacation home. But, he doesn't mention you can Airbnb it and make money off of the home. Or with DVC, he probably doesn't know the stuff that there's a market where if you're not going to go that year, you can rent it and make money every year. So he was just looking at it as like a savings perspective and doesn't know a ton about it. But yeah, he was not a timeshare person by far. But he mentioned that, if you're going to buy one, DVC is the best of the timeshares out there.
And then I just thought of this. So if you see, like if you're on Instagram and you see a Dave Ramsey clip and there's I can't think of the exact clip, but I know there was a clip that was on Instagram where he was talking about timeshares again. And I don't know exactly what he was saying, but I'm, probably wasn't, positive. And I will tell you that I went in there and said, I made a comment that said something like, except for Disney Vacation Club.
Did you really?
Yeah. This all
happened because of you, possibly. The phone call because of you, this discussion because you brought up the Disney Vacation Club. You started that whole trend on the show.
This is at least 6 months ago, if not a year. I don't know how long ago it was. But I said something like, except for Disney Vacation Club. I said something like, and again, I said something like Disney Vacation Club is the one program where members love it. They don't regret buying in. They regret buying more points. It's a product that's easy to use, easy to sell, like whatever I said. And then I will tell you, I must have gotten like 54 comments from DVC members.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they're like, yeah.
I was waiting to find out, did you get slammed on this? Or did DVC members see this?
There was like all sorts of likes on that. Like I might still get likes on that to this day, and it's been a long time ago. And comments were like, yeah, I'm a DVC. Just like 54 comments of DVC members who obviously must be following Dave, but they're also DVC members. And it's all like, yeah, we love our DVC. Dave, if Dave knew more about DVC, he would love it. Like all these comments, it was just super positive about DVC because it is there's no other program where you're going to get this, I say this, but you can't say on a comment, say, oh, I love this, Shell vacation home. And you're going to get all these people that say, oh, I love my Shell vacation. But with DVC, it is the one unique program versus all, like I say, there was all sorts of comments from my comment from DVC members about how they love it. And, it's the best thing ever.
Nice.
So maybe I did start it. Maybe my comment was, I don't know. But, anyway, now we're on to the food review of the week.
Ty, roll your little clip thing.
Come here, I'm gonna eat you! Get in my belly!
So for today's food of the week, I'm back at the Flower and Garden Festival. I am in the American Pavilion. This is an interesting one. They have the Magnolia Terrace booth. I tried the crawfish pie for $6.75. There is zero description online or at the booth. All of them have like the little like A-frame type things. Like it tells you like what's in it. This just says crawfish pie. I went back and looked at the photos because I wanted to do this review and I'm like, there's just nothing in there. So the best way I could figure out how to explain it, it's kind of like a crawfish etouffee, which is super flavorful sauce, and it was covered with a biscuit on top. This was very, very flavorful. I definitely enjoyed this. It has a small kick to it, not a big one. My wife, this was at the top of her spice level. She's not a big spicy person. If you're not a fish, shrimp, crawfish person, you would definitely not like this. I gave this a 7.6 though. I would definitely get this again. I enjoyed it. And there was actually a surprising amount of crawfish in there. I feel a lot of times they skimp out on the main most expensive ingredient, whether it's shrimp or scallops or crawfish. You figure there's not going to be a lot. There was a good amount of crawfish. It was very, very nice flavor. I definitely enjoyed this one a lot.
Fantastic. And now we're on to the DVC-Rental side of things.
So on the DVC-Rental side, I have 5 mistakes that DVC members make regarding their memberships. And
let's see if you've made any of these mistakes, guys. Oh, I'm going to see.
I should say DVC members or prospective DVC members.
Let's see if I've
Number 1, overvaluing perks. I see a ton of people online who will sit there and say, I have to buy direct because, I want to be able to go to the DVC parties, or I want to be able to get this discount. And truthfully, 90% of the perks that are out there, you would never want to be able to do anyway. Or like, I want to be able to, I want to be able to, I've seen this many times, that I bought these points to vacation. I want to use them how I want. So we use them every year and we go on a Disney cruise, which is a horrible use of points. You never want to do that. But there's a lot of people who just overvalue the perks of buying direct, which really you will not use, or it's a bad use of points.
Can I just say something that someone told me one time?
Yeah.
And maybe it's a bad example, and I should run it.
We always love bad examples that put us on the spot. Go ahead, Jason. Make me look bad
on the episode. But so somebody said this to me one time. They're like, it's like there was this car, and then there was this car, and this car, let's say this car had the Disney perks. This car doesn't have the Disney perks. But it's like, but with this car, you're able to drive from California to New York backwards. But with this car, you can't. The guy's like, nobody has an interest in this. That's what he said. He's like, so many of these perks, nobody has an interest in, but they're focused on them, but it means nothing. It's like same thing with the car. And I like the example because it's like, yeah, I
like that example. I've never heard it before.
You're not going to, they're telling you about something that you're never going to do, you never want to do.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to touch, on that because you mentioned overvaluing the perks. Yeah, you want to look at them to see if it's actually something that you want to do. Do you want to drive the car backwards across the country? No.
I don't think so. Number 2 on the list is expecting to easily switch at the 7-month window. I will say, things have changed a decent amount over the years as DVC has become more accessible and more popular. The first, I think maybe I've mentioned this before. I don't recall, but the first time we ever stayed at DVC, I got my contract, and it was probably, I'm making this up, but it's probably relatively accurate. It was June or July, and I was like, yes, my points just loaded. I'm going in there. They've got Value View Studios at Animal Kingdom the first week of December. So I went in and I booked myself a studio at 5 months out, and I booked one for my parents, so Value View Studio, and I booked one from one of my brothers. I booked 3 Value View Studios the first week of December, 5 months in advance. That is impossible now. Value View Studios first week of December typically sell out 11 months in advance. So you have to be careful, because sometimes it's not easy to switch, especially if you're looking for something that's in high demand, like a Value View Studio at Animal Kingdom. So things have changed.
And then I just want to say, and especially just studios, in general, at the, like you mentioned that one, I've reservation over July 4th at the Beach Club. This was before 2010, under 7 months wasn't an issue. That wouldn't happen now.
Yeah, I know. So it's just stuff to be prepared about. People a lot of times will want to sell a fully loaded contract. Now, one thing is that typically, almost always, you'll make more money on the contract if you rent out the points and then sell the contract without the points on there. Now, that can cause the contract to not sell as fast, because a lot of times people will want a loaded contract. And truthfully, when I'm looking at purchasing a contract, I'm looking for ones that have extra points on there as well. But just something to consider is that typically you'll make more money by selling the points first and then selling your contract afterwards.
And the only thing I want to touch on that is it also depends on your property that you own. If you own a 300-point Vero Beach, there's not as many people looking to own at Vero Beach, or on top of that, a 300-point deed, you may want to have it close to loaded when you sell it to entice that person like Scott Ferrioli, who's looking for loaded contracts, to say, okay, well, this is a Vero Beach. It is a 300-point deed, but look at all these points in there. So you have to, I do
like loaded contracts.
On some properties, you may have to entice the buyer.
Yeah, that one, it's a tricky one, because again,
I just want to throw that out there.
And you're absolutely right. You'll make more if you rent out the points first, but it might not sell as easily because there are people like myself who are looking for ones that have the loaded points on there, and it could sit there for a while. A lot of people, there's still, I can't tell you how many DVC members I've run into who don't realize that they can rent points. They rent their points out. I mean, I still have the same story that there's a guy that we started working with him a couple of years ago, many years ago, actually. And I mean, for 8 years, he was sick and just let his points expire. Paid the dues on them every year, just let them go because he couldn't travel. And just the amount of people who don't know that you can rent out your points when you can't use them, or if you fall short on points, you can rent points to stay in to extend your trip, or to if you wanted to do a 2-bedroom but you didn't have enough points, you can use half of your points to move to the 2-bedroom, and then we can book the remaining nights in the 2-bedroom for you. So they don't realize you can rent that renting even exists. And the last thing, and this one always hurts my heart, is when DVC members forget to bank their points. And I know, Jason, we do have a Facebook group, Disney Vacation Club Resales DVC, where many, many times Jason will go in there and warn people, hey, it's about that time. If you have a July use year or whatever, now is the time to bank your points. He does a great job of it. But if you don't bank your points, when you bank them, they're good for a whole other year. If you don't bank your points by that window, you've got 4 months to use them before they expire. Disney, in the past, and I think they've been pretty decent recently, they're still allowing that one-time exception where if you call them on the phone, you give them a little sob story if you want, just explain that you forgot to bank your points this year. Normally, they'll still allow you to bank them even if you miss your banking window, but that's not always the case. So definitely try to remember to bank your points, because if you don't bank them, they're good only for 4 months from now. And by the time you realize it, a lot of times we've had a lot of times recently where people forgot to bank their points and the points expire at the end of the month. So we're trying to go in there and book last minute confirm reservations. And there's not typically much available when points are expiring, when the reservation has to be within like 2 weeks. We can try to help you out, but don't forget your banking window. Bank those points when you need to.
And so on these 5 rules, have you ever, what was the title of the 5 rules again?
5 mistakes or errors that DVC.
Have you ever made a mistake or error on these 5?
Yeah.
Which one?
I may have forgotten to bank my points before.
And did you ask for an exception?
I did ask for an exception. I've gotten the exception.
So I've forgotten to bank my points.
I may have forgotten to bank my points a couple times. Oh, good, yeah. A couple times. I've got a lot of contracts and there's different use years, and I forgot. They've been great. And
Plus, do you remember the old banking rules?
No.
There was so I'm trying, because now, you have 8 months from the time you get your points to bank your points.
Yes, so you bank them at least 4 months before they expire. Yes.
The rules used to be something like, if you bank them by this date, you can bank a certain percentage, and then 2 months later, this percentage, and then if you wait till this long, you can only bank this percentage.
Really?
You don't know that at all?
No.
Yeah, that was, when you look back on it compared to what we have now, because it was, I don't remember what the exact rules were, but it was it was trying to encourage people to say, well, you may not want to bank them all, so just bank this portion by this date. And then if you get to this date and you want to bank more, you can bank more. And if you get to this date.
Oh, wow.
And so, that was, it was.
I've never heard of that.
Really? That was, because
I bought in 2008.
Okay.
So it's been 15 years. So it would have definitely been before that.
Yeah, I know. So.
Or you're making it up.
I'm not making it up. I know I'm not making it up. I know, because you can find a point chart online from whatever year. I feel obviously it started in 91, 92, and then I want to say it was that way until maybe then 2007 or something. And you would see, because it would say, the thing on DVC would say, if you own a December use year, you have until this month to bank whatever percentage it was, and then you have until this month to bank this percentage. It would give you 3 months with 3 different percentages. Wow, you never experienced that.
No.
Because that's when I...
Never experienced that, never heard of that.
Yeah, because that's when I would forget to bank the points back, and then I'd wake up in a cold sweat. I'm oh my God, I need to bank the points.
That's much trickier. You only bank certain amounts at different times, and you have to do it 3 different times throughout the year.
Yeah, it was wild. Obviously, there was when they changed it, people didn't, I don't remember there being any buzz about changing it, so the system, the new system's much better. But anyway, so I've forgotten to bank my points twice.
They help you out?
So far, even though, 2 different use years, I haven't run into the situation where, you didn't really have this on there. Where so let's say you got all these multiple use years, you're making reservations, and then you end up with 4 points over here in this contract, and then you can't use them.
I've had that a few times.
I don't know what that.
I do that.
I don't know if there's a term for that or
I know it's
dead points.
I call them straggler points.
Straggler points.
That's my own term. The straggler, leftover little ones that you book the room and you're like, I got 3 stragglers I can't do anything with. Yeah.
So yeah,
I've had those. Not a lot, but there's.
Yeah, luckily I haven't had any stragglers because you try to work it out where, like sometimes you may go for a larger room because you don't want to have stragglers because if it uses the points. So, but yeah, there's nothing you can do about stragglers. Because sometimes you'll see it in the Facebook groups. Like I have, if they say 6 or more, I know you can book at Hilton Head for 6. But if they say 5 or less, and they're like, I have 5 points to be used by whatever, is there anything I can do with them? If the points can't be transferred, there's nothing you can do with them. If they can be transferred, you can transfer them to someone else. But if they're banked points,
the bank points, you can't do anything with.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. Some people go into like, can I donate them to Make-A-Wish? There's nothing you can do with them. They're just gone. So let us know. Hey, I already forgot what you said. What does it make a mistake?
Is it
Mistakes or errors? Have you guys made a mistake or an error on the 5 points? And I know that there's members out there that know the old banking rules. Remember, you just had flashbacks to that. So
if anybody remembers this, please comment in there and let us know if Jason's crazy.
I'm not making this up. You can find it. Come back next week.
Thank you so much.